Right. Hello there. I'm Chris Johnson from Some Insights, and I'm the lead applications expert here. I'll be conducting or facilitating this training today, and happy to be with you all today. So I expect that we'll have other people joining us as we go through. We can just spend some time on introductions and making sure and covering what it is we'll be going through, making sure that everyone already has done the preliminary steps before this meeting. So this is the overview of what it is that we'll be covering today. So first is just going to be kind of going over the basics of HyperSkill and making sure that everyone has already created an account. I'll go over some of the basic functionalities within it so that you'll be able to be familiar with the tool and other functionalities that I won't necessarily be covering in depth in this session, but you'll know where they are, as well as have access to the documentation and videos to go through on your own time if that's of interest to you. We'll also go over the core conventions within the edit mode experience, and then we'll go through creating an entire simulation from start to end. At the end of this experience, you should be walking away with this with your own authored experience at the end of this period of time. And we'll wrap up with question and answers. So I guess before we begin, I'd appreciate it if those who are present already could introduce themselves to me and tell me what it is that you're interested in learning about. We can try and incorporate that into what I'm covering. Oh, yeah. Hi, June. Oh, all right. Oh. So I guess before we begin, uh, is there anyone here who had any issues with getting access to the software application? Or following the instructions in order to sign up with an account and be able to download the HyperSkill platform? Okay.
Sorry, one quick question. I wasn't able to download the HyperSkill app. Would I download that on my computer and on the headset or just on the computer itself?
Both. The
Oh,
process for getting it on the headset is going to the App Store. For downloading it onto your computer, you would
mhm.
go to our website at siminsights.com and go to login to create an account, which will
Right.
then take you to this screen here. And then you can download it for your desktop application here or go through it online if you're on a non-Windows device.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. And after you have gotten that, you'll get a zip file inside of which there will be uh, this folder. Inside that folder is the application. If you double click it, it will launch. Absolutely. So these instructions were included in the meeting invitation that were sent out, but I'll type them and paste them in the chat. Here. So I'm going to go back a step in here because I'm currently logged into my account. So when you first launch the application, you'll be greeted with this login screen. Here, you can either log in or sign up with an account. You should already have one though, if you've gotten this far. Or you can use a pin code. Pin codes are a method of sharing simulations with other users who have not created an account or you're trying to share publicly. It is an option that you can use for sharing a collection of simulations or an individual one without you needing the information of the user who's going through it, if that is what you would request. You can also set it up to where they still need to sign in. You're using it as a convenient sharing option. But to move forward, you're going to want to log in here. This will open up this screen here in your preferred web browser. And then you're just going to sign with your credentials that you use to create with us. So. There we go, just type slower. Okay, and that will log you in to your account. So this is the home screen that we have. So first over here is Skillful, which is our content collection of pre-built simulations, which is growing all the time with what is being produced. Our simulations page, which we will be going into in a moment, where you are able to see, edit, and experience your own simulations on the desktop. Your own collection of virtual objects, which if I click on this here, you can see some that I've personally uploaded into my account. These are ones that I own, or by clicking this dropdown, I can see ones that have been shared with me. I can also filter by objects, people, or virtual spaces within this. And if I'm part of an organization, I can see the ones that are part of it. Also here is the data and analytics. So if I click on this, it will open here, and this will open the portal, which shows me all the users that have gone through my experiences, what it is they've done in action streams, and what the user is, what it is they did. If I want to go into more details, I can click here and see that. All of this is automatically captured with our system. You're able to go through these and see what it is the users did or what they said. This is the case with every single simulation that we've done. All right.
Hi there.
Hello, welcome.
Thank you. We were here, but we just needed someone to let us up.
Understood. I kept checking in around like 9:50, like 9:50, 9:55 before the session, and then it's like, all right. So, hello there. Welcome. How is everyone? Good. Yeah, good. Happy to have you join us.
Thank you. Oh, so then this is yours. Well, I think it might be good if we can continue charging it while we do the training.
Okay.
By all means, was kind of dead. We're charging this morning though.
Going all right.
Darren is actually one of us might need to go downstairs again. Darren.
Yeah, I told him we took the stairs.
Oh yeah. Darren checked in at like 9. I went down to find him at like 9:02.
He had a meeting.
Got
Had
it.
a meeting, so he was just gonna take the meeting from 9 to 10 and then come on.
Got it.
Yeah, so we all met up downstairs. I don't know who else is joining us remotely, but
Oh, looks like there's 9 people.
Why need it?
Yeah, so remotely we've got Maria Ellis, good, John, sorry,
oh,
Fernando,
yeah.
Wiley, and Jessica.
Good. Can they all hear me? Are we?
That's what we're talking into.
Am I on mute or?
No,
Okay.
they're better on mute.
Oh, they're on mute. Never mind working now. Okay. Hey, good morning, everybody. Sorry for the slight delay. We're getting set up and we'll get started as soon as possible. Yeah, thanks for your patience.
It's been so long.
Hi, Wiley, glad that you're able to all. Sorry, but that was gonna die after getting through this.
That's my only issue with the pros. It's the magnets, right? It's all right. It's right there. Let's see how it goes. I had this down. That's right. Yeah. So this, there you go. And I'll plug that in for you. Thank you for seeing those pictures yesterday. Yeah. And it's really cool.
People come forward for helping, like, cut it short. And
No.
June.
Not at all. Yes, on that. Yeah. Cool. Right. See, the other thing is you're gonna have to set it up now too, because we just factory reset these guys.
Oh, no.
But it's okay. I mean, we're pretty sure. Oh, and there's Darren. Okay. The fellowship is complete.
Hi, Darren. I was very confused when I got your I am here meeting at message at 9 and went downstairs and didn't find you.
Oh, yeah. I was recalling back in the super secure days when had to have the name tag,
Yeah, no worries.
but then it did print a name tag out. Someone's gonna come down, but they need the help on my knee.
I didn't find you. It's okay. All good.
If anyone else has the notification, the app has been blocked by your system.
Oh, no. Thank you for that, June. Do you have administrator privileges on your computer?
We do not.
Okay. So,
We can send a ticket to IT. But
okay, good news. You can follow along on web because we do have the web version of the application and I doubt that's blocked.
yes.
Let me just paste the link for that here. In case you don't want to bother navigating to. It's hyperskill.studinsights.com. You can follow along in web, the exact same process, and it works fine. Excellent. There's no issues, just. It runs
Thank you.
a-
Okay.
Yeah, it just runs a little bit slower than the desktop applications because of. Good. So far, are we still echoing? Seems like no.
So in terms of logging on, do we need to register?
Yes, so before,
Okay, you gonna walk us through that part?
yeah, well, I kind of already have, but sure.
Oh,
No worries. So, again, in the meeting invite, I had.
oh, okay, sorry.
No worries. I always expect this. Quickly going back to my thing, I kind of always set aside 15-ish minutes. I always set aside 15 minutes for account creation. People who are here in person just mute their microphone. I know there's somebody here. All right. Okay. So, again, just because I do want to be respectable sign here. This is what we'll be covering in the session here. It is going to be an overview of the creation process, and I'm going to briefly mention other controls and tabs that we have that I won't be covering here. If your computer is currently blocking the use of the application, my apologies, but feel free to go through this on the web. Works just fine. You just need to create an account with us, which is going to be the case regardless. And I'll go over the controls. And at the end of the session, you should have created an entire simulation from scratch at the end of this that you're able to experience on your own device, both desktop, web, VR. And if you want to turn to AR, I can show you the button to do that if that's what you want to do.
Excellent. Yeah, for the desktop application, we'll submit a ticket to our IT and make sure everybody who's got a license will be able to.
Yeah.
Well, we're only trying to do it through Wiley. You guys are not centrally administrated, right? I mean, administer your systems.
I
It's
hope so.
Okay. So just to show I'm not full of it, here is the web version. I will be continuing on the desktop version for various reasons, but again, here's the web portal. I'm logged in to my account. Same layout, same design. And again, just for the benefit of those who are here in person, these are the buttons that you can click to go into your experience. Skillful is our content collection of over 300 pre-built simulations that you can go through and experience and use as a template. Or you can use as a template or starting point for building your own stuff, if that's what you'd like. Your own simulations, which is your collection of stuff that you have built, and you're able to go through, edit, and change. Also, what's been shared with you. More on that later. My virtual objects. My virtual objects, which is your collection of objects that you have personally uploaded or has been shared with you, as well as any thumbnails that I've put here or not. And this is things that I personally own that you will not find in our public repository because you're able to add or upload your own 3D models to the system as well. So if out of our 1,700 assets we've gotten here, we don't have that particular item you're looking for, good news, you're not out of hope. you can upload your own stuff to this and use it, and that includes objects, people, or spaces, or environments. Okay. Data and analytics, you can click this to bring up your collection of simulations that you have access to and have seen, as well as see the report of what people have gone through. We'll see this, or I can go more into this after we've actually generated some data here. So soon for you guys, this is going to be empty because you haven't done anything yet. But just at a very high level, you can see the users who have gone through the experience, and you can view the details of what they've done here. So here I can see exactly what the user did, and because I had them saying things, I can see exactly what they said, and because I had an AI agent, how it responded. So in this case, the second meter contains strong is what the agent said, and the user asked what's in the second meter. So all of this is available within the system here. Inputting pin codes, you can do this here or at the login screen. This is a way of sharing groups of simulations with users who may not necessarily have an account, but this is for experience only. So you're able to distribute to students or teachers, or even within your own group for experiencing these simulations, and the media libraries for uploading your own audio files, PDFs, images, etc. that don't fit into the rest of these categories.
Can you review the input pin code again? So
Yeah. So let me actually get a pin code to better demonstrate that. All right, share this. Okay. The Zoom functions are hiding the UI. All right, so input pin code. So if I click on this, I'm able to either input an LMS code or a playlist code. Playlist code is an input to HyperSkill, and this is an actual code that has been generated. If I put in that code, here I can see the simulations that have been added to that pin code. All I can do is experience these here, but I'm able to share this with anyone without them needing an account, and they're able to just hop right in.
So, okay, sorry. So when you say they can experience it, that means they can jump in and interact with the objects.
Interact with the created experience that was made by the author.
Okay. And you're saying the people we share the code with don't need an account?
No. I will. It's easier to show on desktop because web requires you to log in unless you've shared directly the link.
Yeah.
But here, so I'm going to log out.
Mm-hmm.
And here you can see before I've logged in, I have the ability to use a PIN code.
Oh.
And here, if I put in that PIN code, I'm immediately taken here. I haven't signed into an account yet. And while this does mean that the data logging will show playlist ID, blah, 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 user, random string of numbers. So we're still capturing what they did. It's not going to be identifiable with the student or anything else. But you're simply go through it. And if I require it, I can give playlist access, but require them to sign in. So I'm still able to tracking their account. That's just a sharing option with our system if you want to go through that. But
when you say playlist, what does that mean in HyperSkill?
That means a collection of simulations that I've added to that PIN code.
Okay.
So rather than just an individual simulation that's been shared with me, you saw there were 3 there.
Right.
I can make that 5, 10, 15, 1, however many I want.
So you create the playlist first, then ask the system to generate a PIN code associated with that playlist.
You know, I'll cover that right now.
Okay. Sorry, that's how I know.
I'm completely happy to answer any of these questions, and as you have them, that's great to cover. I'm going to close this now because I am not going through this on web, and I want to free as many of my resources as I can. So, here, this is my simulations here that I've created.
Mm-hmm.
If I want to create a playlist, which will generate a PIN code, I click this Manage Playlist button. Here, you see the one I've created. I want to create a new one. Example. I'm going to click Create New. All right. Hey, I have a PIN code. I have a playlist, but if I click to edit, I can see it's empty. Here's the list of ones that I have the ability to add to this. So I can do this, this, and I can rearrange these if I want to change the order of them, how they're presented. And I can require the user to log in before they're able to experience it. That means that if they tried to enter this PIN code, there we go, please log in first.
And if they don't have a login, they have to create it.
If they don't have one, they'd have to create one in this case, or I can do this and that's not going to be a requirement.
Got it. So if we did a simulation then we send the students a pin code to join, but they then copy forward that pin code to other people to join. Yeah, they could. Okay.
They can share.
So then we wouldn't be able to control who comes in.
Correct. What you can do is you can create this and use it and then go, great, cool, this is going to be available for 5 days. And then at the end, hit this delete button right here, and then it's gone forever and they won't have access to it anymore.
Is there, so I get the pin code model, is there a way like to only invite a certain group of people?
Yes, there is.
Limit the access.
Let's move forward with the training. So, here, if you download, we're going to the simulations page. This is where you create and manage your own simulations. So to begin with, here is my own private collection. If I was part of an organization, which this account is not, I would see the organizations I'm part of here in this dropdown. I can also see what simulations are shared with me by toggling this button here. And you can see there's the shared tag as well as some different functions that are here. Now, as far as how I share these simulations with direct individuals here, you would click on this, and here you can see you can rename the simulation to whatever you like here by clicking this button here. Example. Okay, so now the name of the simulation has been changed. Here's the last state was modified. I just modified the name, so it's been updated. Edit, which we'll go into a minute. Make a copy of it, which will make a copy of the simulation in its current state, which I'll do right now. So let's demonstrate the next one, which is the delete option. So I've created a simulation, I decided I don't want anymore, and now I'm going to delete it. Next is the share option, which when I click that, brings me to here. I can give various permissions to individuals, whether they're a viewer or an editor of the simulation. If they have, I need to type in somebody who has an account. And if I've done that, that individual will have access to the simulation and they will see it show up in their shared section. Okay. Also, if the simulation has been made public, you will also see a URL link that is generated here that you can then copy and distribute to users who are able to experience this through the web directly without needing to sign in. Okay, so you can directly share it that way. And you can either give them permissions as a viewer, which means that they'll only be able to view the experience, or an editor so that they'll be able to have access to the other functions of the simulation.
This can all be accessed through the web.
Yes. Exactly. So, and last is the experience button. This is how you would jump into experience your simulation that you've created on desktop, web, whatever platform, cloud, desktop and web.
How do I, so if how would you share this experience with all of us right now?
So if I wanted it to be somewhat efficient with my time and I didn't need you guys to edit, I just want you to experience it, I would go, okay, there's enough of you here to make it inconvenient to get all your emails. I would just go sharing with people. And I would click create. I would edit here. I'd find my simulation. Claims test example, because I renamed it. Okay, hit save. You go, all right, everyone, here's this new PIN code for you all. 118283. Either on the sign-in screen or at the PIN code screen. Put in this PIN code. And you can experience the simulation now.
So let's say enter PIN code, and we say playlist.
Yep.
Okay. And then I'm sorry, it was
118283. Okay.
Is delete gone forever? Or
I
is it
mean,
trash?
It is gone forever. If you want it recovered, just reach out to us. We can recover it for you. Nothing's ever really gone forever. It's just gone from you.
Fair. Select experience mode.
Single player or multiplayer. Multiplayer is if it will create a room and representation. I mean, by default, it's going to be empty, of course. Put in a name, anything else, and others are able to join you, whether they've joined by the playlist or not. Again,
So we all, like in this example, we all want to be in the same room. So
Yeah.
create a custom session or,
you don't have to.
okay.
So, I mean, yeah. So you can see here on the screen, there are public rooms. This means everyone can see that there are people in that room, or they can join as a spectator. If you create a custom room, that's just not going to appear visibly to others. So it's just like, if I joined that room and somebody else entered with that exact same pin code, they go, oh, I see that there's one player in that room already.
I see.
Whereas if I create a custom session, okay, it starts with the name demo, whatever the name is, I would go, okay, the maximum people who can join me is that, I can make it public or not.
Is that 15, like, can we increase that?
Yes.
Oh, okay, great, I see. No, because I'm seeing 13 people that's on Zoom and there's, 5
Yeah.
of us. Okay.
I mean, to be fair, 3 of those are me.
Ah. Then 10.
Yeah, because one of them's that session, one of them's this, and one of them, anyway. But if you want to join a custom session, you just put in the name here. And as long as it matches the key code of what was put in. I don't recommend doing demo
Oh, okay.
too much
Right.
because that's our default. But again,
Can I?
there are several things that have to match for somebody to join a session of demo. It needs to be that exact same simulation.
Mhm.
It needs to be at the same time you're doing it. So that anyway, but yes, you absolutely can.
So how about this? I'm gonna create a custom session.
Mhm.
I'm gonna call it UCI.
Okay, and I see somebody's already joined the public room here as an example here.
Oh,
So I
I'm
can just,
in.
okay, well,
yeah, I can just join the public one instead.
okay,
And,
let's join the public one then.
I can't turn the Bunsen burner.
Okay, I'm just seeing your presentation. Where's the link to actually get into it?
It's in the chat.
I'll put it, yeah.
I don't have anything.
Okay, so you
Yeah.
He might have just joined later.
HyperSkill.sininsights.com.
yeah, so if somebody could repaste in the chat.
Yeah.
Oh, man. I'm still joining and I'm in. All right. Just a little bit earlier. Oh.
Oh, mute.
All right. So you saw the screen with the stuff beforehand. I see Tony, somebody who didn't put in their name. And other things here. So we've joined a multiplayer session here. Excellent. And now Jessica's here. So
You feel right at home in here.
we're all able to join.
Because it was fun.
Got my AI agent over there. Looks like somebody already wore the safety gloves and glasses, which means I can now turn on the Bunsen burner. It's turned on for me. It should be turned on for everyone else. And we've now gotten the instruction to grab the chemistry spatula. Now, I will say, this experience was not designed for multi people. There's only one set of activities for a user to do, not multiple people.
Got it.
But we are able to interact with, see each other in here, go through that experience together, etc.
Is there an ability to strafe?
Yes. So those are based on your controls. Go
Yeah.
to the settings and change it from rotation or strafe, your call of what it is you prefer here. So if you turn strafe on, you're able to do that.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. So I click settings.
In the lower right hand corner, settings, and then the player movement, either strafe or rotation.
There we go. Oh, I see. Strafe.
Your call. I also prefer strafe, but I'm not.
Oh, and then you hold down the right mouse button for rotate.
I'm
Yes.
not in that room.
Oh,
I'm in some
okay.
other room.
Yes. Okay. I have to grab my
It's a
spatula.
public room.
So I've grabbed my spatula. I'm getting instructions from Anya over there to take the spatula and collect the powder sample, which I'll quickly do here. Oh, did I not grab the spatula? Somebody else? Didn't pay attention. So somebody's grabbed the spatula. It's not me. It's me. Hey,
Can I interact with Anya?
I don't know if I turned that on
Oh, okay.
in this one, but I'll walk you through that.
Okay.
But this is how we can go through the experience. I'll get out of here and actually talk about how to create
Okay.
something like this.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sorry.
No worries. So that's what we'll get to eventually
Okay.
at the end of this. And you're able to customize and change this to suit your needs and purposes of what it is you want to go through. But let's just step back a bit and go with how you would create that experience to start with. So in order to create a simulation, you just go to the upper right hand corner here where it says new. This will open up the new simulation panel. And
We should exit out of this, right?
yes, I would recommend doing that. It might help you in following along with these steps.
Yeah. Okay. So back at the home menu.
Home menu, my simulations.
Simulations. New.
First thing you're going to do is type in a name for your simulation. I'm just going to call it my first sim. I have a lot of my first sims. And here you can choose a scenario. Now, we're gonna do a public one, but again, this is how you would see your virtual spaces that have been shared with you or are owned by you. I have one that I own that has not been uploaded. I don't have one that's been shared with me. And these are all the ones that are publicly available in our repository. You can either select them and see which one your current selection is here in the lower, in the bottom, or you can use this to cycle through. The one we're looking for is public classroom. Okay, so I'm going to select public classroom. I can see it selected here. Then I'm going to click create. This will add it to my list of sims here, right at the top. And again, I can edit to rename it, but we're going to click the pencil icon to go into the edit mode to start actually changing the experience. All right. So this will load me in, and we're going to start here. So while all of you are kind of loading in here, I'll just kind of quickly talk about the controls and space movement here. So first, in this,
Actually, Chris, would you mind pausing real quick? I just want to make sure everyone's caught up or everyone good? No?
Yeah, no, I got the public playlist.
oh, all right, cool. Hit the X on the upper right hand. Oh, I see. So you're creating
So I did
this?
create.
Cool, perfect. All right, cool. And you made it. You just didn't give it a name, which is fine. You can rename it if you'd like.
Oh, I see.
So
Getting a lot of staff like.
we're just and you're gonna this might be rough for those of you without a mouse.
Mouse.
Oh. I have brought mine.
I have two upstairs I can quickly grab.
I have one.
Might actually run up and do that because of how annoying I find offering without a mouse. It's not impossible, but I really don't like it personally.
Okay, why don't you go over and
I'll be right back.
at the same time I'll check in with our folks that are, joining us remotely. So for everybody joining remotely, how's everybody doing? If you actually, if there are any questions, if we're going too quick or being, just kind of just random with our questions, let us know.
I'm able to follow along. I'm in the edit mode as well.
Okay, cool. Thanks, June.
Yeah, looks very interesting. I looked at there's some models about you can create your own house. So I was like, that looks interesting.
Very cool. The feature I like about this is the sharing, the pin. That makes sharing really simple. Yeah. And Brent, are you on? I'm not zoomed in. Okay.
There's another.
Okay, well, if Maria, if you're online, I think this would, with regards to the yield event, matter sharing the pin with the participants, they don't have to do anything else.
Yeah.
It's all online.
Yeah, it looks pretty amazing.
Unplug yours for a second to see.
So they've actually created a digital twin of, and it's actually it's pretty impressive.
Okay.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we haven't talked about detail. They just did it as a proof of concept.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
we didn't.
You'd be able to show us what it looks like.
I think we can ask them at the end. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know some of this one.
Office.
The public classroom.
Who does not have a mouse? Perfect, I have exactly 3. I have an extra cable, apparently.
Thank you so much.
Seconds, I spent running down some.
It just empty.
You're plugged into the computer, the phone, yeah.
Actually, let me help you with that while you get set up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do that too.
Thank you. Oh, sorry. Huh?
Thank you for getting this one.
No worries.
It sounds
All right.
Awesome.
I don't think.
You don't have a USB.
Yeah.
I cannot help you. Really
I'm
lost.
also on the Mac. So.
Why don't we switch that? I set up a Bluetooth. Okay.
Really?
So if you have to bring up your Bluetooth though.
Again.
All right, so while that's being resolved here, let's kind of quickly go over the menus and views that are here. So first, this big square here is the view space where we can see the current state of what we've added to our simulation. You can move through here by using the middle mouse wheel to scroll, to zoom in or out, or click with the middle mouse wheel to pan the camera. By the way, you are absolutely able to move the camera through objects.
Yeah.
Okay, it's not restrictive. You can go through the floor or anything else. It's completely free manipulation. Okay. Next is the right mouse button. This lets you rotate the camera. Click and hold the right mouse button, which is one of the reasons why I find having this on a laptop is annoying.
Now I get it.
Because rotating the camera, while possible, on a laptop through this method, I find painful. So, also middle mouse wheel is nice. You can also move with W, A, and D, or the arrow keys in order to move through the space as well. So that's just this area in a nutshell. Get comfortable with moving around here. You'll likely be doing it a lot, but you know, you can minimize this with other functions that I'll cover in a moment. Next is the toolbar. We'll be using these throughout, but these are your methods of manipulating assets that you've brought into your experience. I'm just going to quickly bring in something. ACD, ADC, whatever, I'm just bringing a black cat, who cares? So you can click over here to bring in an object. You'll see progress as it loads and goes through. And eventually it will be dropped in here. Okay, just give it a minute. And once it's dropped in your space, you'll be able to manipulate it around and do things with it using the asset movement tool. There, I've got a black cat. Yay! Now my next black cat is much faster to load because it's now stored in memory. We're gonna have two. So we've got I got two pairs of cats in here. The selection tool means if I click anywhere, nothing else is going to happen. It's only going to select or deselect. Okay. The movement tool is similar to the selection tool, where I can click on something, but if I click on something, I will select it. And if I click on empty space, it won't deselect it, but it will have me move it around. So I can left click and hold to move the object around. The XZ tool lets me move it in a plane of the X and Z planes, indicated by these arrows. The move Y tool lets me move it up and down. Okay. Next is the rotate tool. You can click on an object, click and drag to rotate the object around. Next is the scale tool. If I make something bigger or smaller, click on the scale tool and click and drag. Make the cat giant or really tiny. Okay. Also, if you've misplaced an object for whatever reason, or you're off in the void somewhere, you can click on an object from the object browser over here, double click, and it will take you to that object. So right. Last is the delete button. You click on delete, highlight an object, click delete, and you'll have this brought up here to delete the virtual object. If you like to delete it, hit confirm delete. And if you are going to be deleting a lot of objects or you don't want to be warned by the system, click this button here and it will disable it so that it won't show up when you click on your next option to delete something. I personally prefer this because sometimes objects are stacked on top of each other and I like it telling me what it is I'm going to delete, or I like deleting from this object browser over here. You can select an object over here and click the X button. So the same as the delete function, even if you're not on the delete tool. All right. So those are the basic controls there. If you've accidentally deleted something that you didn't need to, you have the undo and redo functions here, which will undo your last deleted function or action you did on an object.
Just real quick, so far I'm having a very seamless experience on the web version, HyperSkill. What would be the advantage to the desktop version?
It tends to load a little bit faster.
Okay.
Mine is slow.
Oh,
I just saw on the desktop too, or the web browser, excuse me.
okay.
Mine seems to be fine.
Yeah, mine too.
It depends on your computer settings and a lot of other things. Whatever your computer's processing power is cut to about a quarter if you're doing it through web because of the way web browsers are set to function to not toggle resources. I don't have that restriction if I'm using the desktop app.
Got it. So the desktop, so feature wise, it's the same. It's
Exactly.
1-to-1, but it's just a matter of, I guess, processing. Okay.
Your own, yeah.
Okay.
Functionally, not any different.
Got it. Okay, cool. Thanks to have options.
Yeah, it absolutely is. And again,
My mouse seems to kind of disappear from time to time.
okay, try clicking on a tool. Or,
It appears when I'm out of the screen, but it disappears when it comes.
oh, okay. Tiny mouse. To understand your sensitivities. This is going to be a problem, isn't it?
So it's there, but
Yes. Okay,
Firefox.
I mean, I tend to use Google Chrome rather than, well, I like Firefox, but I understand. Okay, there we go. If I go here,
So a window popped up and then the mouse disappeared.
all right, I don't, whatever you did, I'm doing it. All right. If it does happen again, let me know. I'll try and help resolve it. All right, cool. So, that's how you're able to bring in, manipulate objects and go through it. This is the scene layout tab. I will be covering the scenario flow, but just kind of high level. This is where we're going to create a flow chart that's going to determine the process of the user going through the simulation. It's not coding because we're creating a flow chart, but this is where we're essentially writing those building blocks and coding out the experience the user is going to go through.
Yeah.
We'll cover that more in depth when we get there.
Okay.
Rules tab is if an action or something to be performed by the user is not limited by where they are in that flow chart, such as you have a light switch, you want the user able to turn that off and on, no matter what else they're doing in the simulation. Okay, you just want that to be available at all times. You use a rule to create that. So it's just something that's available at all times, at all places. So
You bring up actually a question for me. So let's say an object is a light switch, right? And I place that light switch. Is the light switch in itself as an asset just benign, or because of the light switch, there's an off and on?
it's benign.
Okay.
You are able to turn it off and on by messing with either its properties or having it linked through different means. So basically I can go, this is a light switch, this is a light. If I use this light switch and the light is off, turn the light on.
Got it.
And then if you use it again, and as in a condition, the light is on, turn it off.
So that would be under rules or under properties?
Combination of both.
Got it.
You're able to combine all of these together. I'll just create an example rule. With my cat. With my two cats. Okay. So I'm not going to cover this here per se, but this is something that I can do where if I use my cat, it's going to do something. In this case, display a message. Yeah. Okay. And this is if I use my fourth black cat, apparently. And if I use my fifth black cat, it'll go meow, meow. Okay. So I've now got two things that I can use in my experience, and it's not going to matter where I'm at in my experience. Anytime I use them, it's going to give me that message, and I can express this in different ways, add conditions to where it's only doable like when I've got to a certain step in my simulation or at all times, or, if there's some conditions. This can be very complicated, so I don't cover it in the beginning session here, but this is where you're able to do all those universal things that exist outside of what we'll be doing here in this flowchart eventually.
Got it.
All right. VO groups, again, not going to be necessary in this experience, but if you have objects that kind of function as each other, an example of this is you have a simulation with lots of either basketballs and soccer balls, and you want all of them to functionally be the same. So like if ball goes into basket, point goes up by 1. You don't care which ball it was. You would use a VO group for that to say all of these are a ball, or in my case, because I have cats, all of these cats are cats. Okay. And I can add things that aren't cats to here if I wanted to, but that's kind of defeating the point. Not recommended. But yeah, so that's a VO group. AI.
Does VO stand for something?
Virtual object. So we have virtual object, virtual people, and virtual spaces
Okay.
are the building blocks. We've already selected our virtual space of the classroom, which is where we're in now. And that's what that's there. AI, this is where you are able to add AI to your simulation. It does require you to have access in order to be able to do this. I suspect and solve you made your accounts just now. That hasn't happened for you yet. But if it has, all you got to do is click this enable chit chat button, and then you're able to add information about your AI and what it is, its goal is, and what it's doing. You are an expert in science, is what I would do in this case based on what we're doing here. And this is making it so it knows what objects are in the space and it's able to look at that and respond based off of enable sim knowledge basis. What that is.
Okay. And where's that? Is that referencing?
In this case, it's looking at every single object I've put in here, the names I've given it, as well as descriptions I've put in, so it's aware of all of this. Whereas otherwise, it's only responding based off of this prompt.
Got it. Okay, so the knowledge base is specific to the context, which is
The context of the simulation. Yeah. So this is going, what's in your environment. Otherwise, you only know what I told you in this prompt.
Got it. Okay.
Or in this case, you only know what's in your PDF I've given you if I enable PDF questioning.
So that's pretty impressive because you're saying there's like 3,000 assets, right? You guys have.
Yeah.
Right. So it knows. That's part of the knowledge base. It knows all the assets. It knows what
It knows what's in this object browser here that
Right.
you put into the simulation.
Yeah.
And I, as the sim creator, am able to write my own description about it, or it's just gonna look at that and go, oh, I know it's a black cat. I functionally understand what that is. Okay, I'm gonna disable that because we're not using that at this moment. And the settings is the things you have here. We will be changing a few of these as we go through, particularly we'll be enabling the microphone at some point. And once we get a virtual person here, we'll be selecting it as our virtual agent, but this is all what's in here. And if you want your experience to be mixed reality, click here and click augmented reality. Is what would be here for your VR experience. But again, not important right now. We're gonna go back to here.
Chris, is there documentation on this?
Yes.
Okay.
It's included in my calendar invite, but also if you just go to our website here, documentation right there.
Got it. Okay, cool.
But that brings up our user's guide, which has all the information about everything you could ever want.
You have a separate calendar?
Yeah,
Yeah,
we don't have it.
Yeah. So I created one for UCI for a group.
I now understand part of what happened.
Yes.
Okay.
So I was like, I keep clicking on our calendar invite.
I was gonna say, I knew I didn't have anything, but
Right. I wasn't trying to draw attention to myself, but I'm the problem. We all figured it out. It was Colonel Mustard.
I just silently figured that out already.
I was like, so the problem's with something else, not me.
Okay, got it. No worries. Yeah, and I did forget to include the link to the documentation, so that's on. There we go. See, it's not just him. You're slightly
Thank you. Thank you for joining me under the bus.
No worries.
The view is nice here.
Yeah, here at the bottom.
There's room for more than one.
I'm gonna get rid of my cats for now, because they're not really part of the simulation. They just served as a good example of a purpose of what I can do. So, last thing here, or last few things, we got skybox. This is kind of a boring sky. I want it to look nicer. I click this drop down, and now we've got a different day blue sky. And other options, such as we're now in space. And there's the Earth out there.
Ooh.
Amazing classroom, kind of floating out in space. Reminds me of Doctor Who a bit. But yeah. Or you're on the surface of Mars, right? So you're able to change your skybox. You're also able to upload your own here if you want. But these are the ones that we have by default in our system. I'm just gonna go big. All right. Oh, I did forget one thing here. Showing the axis. If you don't like this, to remind you of what way is what, click that, and it doesn't show up when you select options. Okay. And last but not least is setting spawn position. This fine representation of the user is where, when they enter the environment, where they will be and what direction they'll be facing. So if you want to change that, click the set spawn position, and it will now be following your cursor. Click once to drop it, and then move left and right to adjust the orientation. But click again to set them in place, and this is where, when the user enters the environment, where they are and what direction they'll be facing. All right. So that covers all of that. And what is we're going through here? Are there any questions from those online or participating remotely? All right, excellent. So now let's get to actually bringing in our objects that we're going to be using with this. So first thing here is this is the asset section. Briefly touched on this before. You're able to type in here to limit what it is you're looking for and find things. And I'm going to bring in the table. So I'm just going to type in table. And you can see we got a list of tables in here. And you're able to look through these. And the one I want is the science lab work table. So I'm just going to click on that. Load it. I have to drop it into my experience. Okay. So I brought it in. I'm just putting it over here in this location. Okay. Now, this is me placing it by hand. If I want to be more precise with my placement and my orientation, I'm able to go over here to the object browser. So if you've selected an object, you can see in the inspector here the properties of your object. There's coordinates here for the position, and I personally am kind of silly like this, but I like it being nice round numbers. So I'm going to put it at exactly 4.2. I'm going to put in a y value of 0.6. Okay, and a z value of negative 0.25. Okay, so I'm just more directly placing it in an exact location. I also see that my table is slightly askew. Not enough to where any human would really notice, but it bothers me. So I'm going to put it exactly at 90 degrees rather than it's 88.895, whatever nonsense. Okay. So I now have placed my table in the exact position I want. While I'm here, I'm going to cover some others of the basic properties that haven't been covered thus far in our experience. Scale is, again, how it's adjusted. If you wanted to, I'm going to keep it at 111 because I'm happy with this. Mass is how hard, or the mass of the object. If the object is pushed with something else, like if I throw a ball at it, the greater mass of the ball or the table, it'll do a calculation, and based off of that, it'll move a certain amount based off of how much force is applied. It's not going to matter in this experience, but that's what it does. Everything by default has a mass of 1. Well, where a table has more mass than that, but it's just all relative.
Right. That's interesting.
Okay. Is visible. When I click this, nothing's going to happen right now. But this changes when I load into the experience. The table will not be visible or interactable to the user. This is going to be important for us for changing what's available to the user at any given time. And we'll be using this in this simulation. When we are changing we'll be putting in a Bunsen burner. And we'll be changing what flame is visible at what time based off, say, the Bunsen burner and what chemical it is that they're burning. Okay. Is static. These are typically for background objects or things that the user is not manipulating and moving around, like a table. I don't want the user pushing this around and moving it. So it's going to be static, which means as far as physics are concerned, it has infinite mass and cannot be moved by the player if they threw something at it. And if, let's say, it was manipulatable by the player where they could grab the object, if they let go of it, it'll just remain floating in space. It's not affected by things like gravity, whereas otherwise, if it's not static, the physics term is actually kinematic. It will either not fall or will to the floor based off this property. Okay.
So when you click is static, the object has infinite mass. The system.
Infinite mass system. I mean, I can move it
Mhm.
by using other functionalities, but if I threw something at the object, physics will never move it.
What if you threw an object at it with infinite force?
It will not move.
You answered the age-old question. What happens when a mobile object
Yes.
meets an unstoppable force?
I have bad news for you. Technically, it's impossible to throw something with infinite force because it won't calculate it, but it is possible to say all force that collides with this is zero. So from a computer standpoint, it will always be zero.
Got it.
So while I can give it 9999999 force, I can't give it infinite because the computer can't calculate that. Whereas it can turn anything that touches it to zero.
Got
So, that's how that works.
it.
Snap. This is if you combine two different objects together and you want one to move when I move the other. I have a water bottle here. It's comprised of three different parts: the bottle, the lid, and the straw. If I'm holding the bottle, it moves. If I grab the lid and this, it would move, but the straw is still connected to my bottle. And this is where you're able to set that up, that connections to have these two different, or however many different objects together and assemble in positions and offsets and anything else. I will be using this in this experience, but not with the table. Okay. Description, you want to write a description of your object. This is able to either be shown to the user or just a note to you or to the system so that the AI is able to use this. Your choice here. If you want it to be shown, just click this little check mark here, and where it shows up, either in a local relative position to the object or in a global location, you're able to choose. And the grab mechanics of how the object functions when held by the user, or if it can be at all. So is grabbable now means I can grab this table. Don't recommend it, but doable. And whether it's the grab type of basic, which is what you'd expect when I grab the object, it comes into my hand. And if there's an offset of it, typically this is used for things like tools or hammers, where there's a specific orientation, the user wants to hold that hammer in. Whereas if it's a ball, probably don't care. Okay. But there are other different types of mechanics when grabbing something. I don't believe that we're using them in this, but I'll just quickly go through them so you know that it's available. So a slider, think of like a drawer or something that moves along an axis. When you grab it, you don't want it to actually go to your hand, you want to move it along that axis that you're moving it along. So like when you grab a drawer, you want to pull it and it comes out along that axis as you move your hand. That's slider. Rotator. This is for things like wheels. You grab it, it doesn't go to your hand, but you're able to turn the wheel along the given dimensions. Dragger. You grab the object, but it moves across the floor. This is for things like carts and things like that, where it moves across the floor. Grabber. An object that is used to grab other things. Think like the trash picking up thing. Okay. So you've grabbed the object in your hand and you want it to be able to grab stuff. That's what that's for. And last that we have is climbable. This is for ladders or things that you grab it. You want to be able to hoist yourself up to be able to move along what it is you've grabbed in that pivot. So you can make essentially your own rock wall in VR if you wanted to with this. And that's how that all functions with this. All right. So those are all the grab types. We will be largely sticking to basic here, but I want you to be aware that it's all available here within our system. And any object can be any of these things. Like my notes back, please. Oh well. All right, so that's our table. And now we're going to bring in the rest of our stuff here. So first, I'm going to bring in a Bunsen burner. So typing in Bunsen, I have this. Able to click, drag it in. Now it's on here. I'm going to just put it on top of my table. Okay. Again, this is just because I'm me and I like things having exact values. I'm putting it exactly where I want it to by typing in these values. not gonna touch the Y, because I actually like it where it is sitting on the table. But I'm going to put it at this and then negative 0.7. Okay. Okay. So I've got my Bunsen burner over here. Next, I'm going to bring in some flames. By typing in flame, I can see it varies from colors here, as well as something for a welding sim.
So that's interesting. So basically, as we create things in HyperSkill, I mean, we really can't take anything for granted. Like every asset is broken down into components. So in other words, the Bunsen burner doesn't have the flame included.
You could if you wanted to, but I find that limits what it's useful for.
Uh-huh.
Or by having them separate like this, I'm able to combine them to make things that maybe I didn't think of initially when I uploaded it, but it's now able to be used for other different purposes. And by making them separate, while it is a little bit less cohesive, I have more flexibility in what I can create. That's at least what we want to do, because we don't want to limit your creativity, because I don't know, maybe there's a flame color that we didn't include, like say blue, which you can see here is not included. If I have it as a separate object, I can put it into position, which I'll be doing in a moment. See, burner flame goes at 4, 5, and maybe 0.5. Okay, so I'm able to add as many of these flames here as I want. Yeah, I'm offset. I should probably put it in the correct position, but you get the idea.
So after you put it in this correct position, how would you bind it to that object, so to speak?
It's kinematic, remember? It's always floating there. And if I want to actually bind it, I would use that snapping function.
Got it.
Okay, so I could snap this into place. Again, the Bunsen burner is not going to move, but let's see, what's a good example of an object that I know has the top? I know my spatula. I'm bringing a chemistry spatula. It's going to go here on the table, right? What's it called? A little bit ahead of me here, but it is white powder, I think. Yeah, that's it. All right. Got this white powder. I want it to move with the spoon. Okay, so I'm going to attach this to my spatula. The spatula has a location for it called scoop. Let's move it to that. Okay, great. This is what. So now it's going to move with that. And because that's a little bit large, let's make it smaller where it fits onto the scoop. Move to hitbox. Smaller. There we go. Okay, so now I've got this spatula with this little white powder sample that moves with it. 1, 1, 0.1. Okay, so now they're bound together. Is what's going to happen here. Okay, and if I cared to, I could do the same with my Bunsen burner, or my flames on my Bunsen burner. Okay.
So what if you wanted to create an experience where the user grabs the spatula and moves it over the powder, is able to scoop it up?
That's what we'll be doing.
Got it. Okay, I'm jumping ahead, sorry.
Yeah, I will literally be having us do that in this experience.
All right.
That is one of the goals. All right. So I guess I'll quickly bring in the assets, but again, I've brought in a few flames. Which ones? Really up to you. I recommend default purple, red, and yellow, green, because those are the ones I'm doing. Because as an example, it doesn't matter if it actually matches reality. It's your call. But I recommend having just a few different options that you're able to switch in between and go through, because what's going to happen is you're just going to burn different chemical elements, and the flame is going to change color based off of which one they are burning, is the end experience here. So we've got our flame in position, and I'm going to move the others into the exact same position, which for me, based off of my position of my Bunsen burner, is at my Bunsen burner is at 4.2, 1.3, maybe 0.7, rotated 270 degrees. My flame thus needs to be at 4.2, 1.5, negative 0.5. Okay, I'm just gonna copy that across these. Okay,
So like, this level of specificity, I'm not. I think, most, I'll speak for myself, I'll need to, really practice and get my head around that. I mean, I know what you're doing, see what you're doing, I get it. But you're doing it, obviously, you're very proficient at it, so you're putting in these values. That makes sense intuitively to you at this point.
at this point, yeah.
Yeah. So. I mean, I feel like. In order for a user to get to, your level of proficiency, that, we're gonna have to dedicate some time to really trying learning this.
So this is me being very specific because again, you're right, I am very familiar with this asset. And I know that if I put it at these exact values for my flame, it would put it dead center here, kind of floating.
Yeah.
So I just did an offset here. You'll notice that it's in the exact same X position as my Bunsen burner. So that part's rather intuitive. And I've just moved it up, so it's showing up at the tip rather than in the center of it.
Mm-hmm.
And then because if I put it at the same Z position of 0.5, sorry, 0.7, you can see it's floating here. So it's just 0.2 over. So even if I put it in the exact same position, it's not going to take me too long to figure it out where it needs to go. And if I want to, I can freehand it by moving it around.
Right. I think most, again, just speaking for myself, that's how I'll be, interacting.
Yeah.
With those values, I'm gonna have to.
Okay, yeah, in my case, what I tend to do is I freehand it until I get it close enough
Yeah.
to where I can go, okay, now let's cut off the last decimal places.
Got it.
That's how I usually do it. It's just, I've done this specific creation process enough now to where I don't have to guess.
Right, exactly. I can tell.
Yeah. Okay. And again, if I knew I was going to be doing this more often, or I wasn't demonstrating the principles of how you would do this, I would just put you saw how I moved the scoop or this thing here by snapping it to it. I would just add a snap zone to it. So anything that's going to be attached together, I just automatically move it there and I don't care. But you have options. I'm trying to demonstrate what would happen if somebody had not anticipated this is what it'd be used for.
Yeah, no, to me, you're doing you're demonstrating the precision that the tool, is able to, the precision of the tool.
Yeah.
But I think, at least again, speaking just for myself, I'm gonna have to dedicate some time to familiarizing myself with the platform, but also kind of learning the definitions, right? Stabbing.
Yeah, absolutely. There's some
learning curve.
nomenclature that, yeah. All right. Next, we're gonna have some beakers. So just type in beaker, click, drag, put it on my table. For less precise for this, I'm just gonna bring in a few of them. Not really important where they end up as long as they're somewhere on the table. If I wanted to, I can put them all on a line by carefully typing out values. I'm not gonna care that much this time. I'm also gonna bring in this clear liquid that's gonna go in one of these. Okay. So again, I want the liquid to be inside the beaker. I'm gonna choose this. It has a sample location. I'm just gonna move it to that location. Although I should probably put it in the line I meant to, which is so beaker. It's just right that he needs to learn it. Okay.
I think we'll make it, but I mean, I can walk him through it, but then ultimately it's just the practice. He's just gonna have to practice building stuff.
All right. So added my liquid to my beaker. Now I'm going to bring in that white powder that I had before. This time it's going to go into my beakers. So I can just move them either over it and manually place them if I want. So, I can manipulate them in place, or because these have sample locations, I can just snap them into place with those I wanted to do instead. Your call.
You said that was powder, like a powder.
Yeah, type in powder or white. Both will bring it up rather quickly. But I just type in beaker and then powders. Okay. This is why I like using the selection tool, because when I clicked on this, it moved. The hitbox. Okay. Hitbox and move to hitbox. That's my last one. So I moved these things here, and again, to help with placement, I just use snapping. So the object is snapped to, and I selected the object. In this case, I chose my various speakers with my samples. I gave it the location of the sample, and then I clicked this button to move it to the hitbox to move to that location. And I just automatically moved it from, out in space over here to that location. Absolutely.
There a way we can bring ourselves back to the spawn? Bring our perspective back. So somehow I placed the beaker somewhere out in outer space.
Click on any other object
Okay, thank you.
in your object browser.
I did delete it. So okay, there we go. Thank you.
And so Chris, I have the powder, I have the beaker. How do I move the powder into the beaker again?
Sure.
Besides, I mean, is it short of kind of manually moving?
Yeah, I understand your question. So select the powder you want to move into position. Go to the is snap to property. Click the drop down and find one of your beakers. Okay, so
Well, so under the is snap to the target object and target hitbox.
yes,
Which one?
target object.
Okay. And I select the beaker. Okay, got it.
And then under the target hitbox, click that drop down and sample should be available.
Yes.
Great.
Click
Click that and then
move to hitbox.
correct.
Ah.
There you go.
Who says you can't teach an old dog, dude?
All right. Well done. Now let's add the last two things here of safety material. We got safety glasses. I'm going to go for the blue safety glasses. Click on them. I'm going to put them on the table. I'm going to rotate them around to where they're facing the user. Then I'm going to grab gloves. I can either put the gloves individually or I can do the pair of them if I want to. I'm going to just do the pair of them. These are ginormous. Maybe not these ones, but it doesn't really matter because I can do this. Make them the appropriate size. Why that's 10 times the size it should be doesn't really matter to me though. Okay, there we go. I've now added safety gloves and safety glasses. All right, and with that, I think we have everything that we need that we absolutely require for this experience. But if you want to, oops. I'm going to add a person. Is the last thing I should do. Zoom, indicate, please get out here. So you're able to add people to this experience if you want to. I'm going to add Dr. Arnold Light because he looks like a professor to me. And I happen to know he's one of the lighter virtual people within our repository as far as assets are concerned. And still, honestly, I feel looks good. So bringing him in.
How did you get to the people?
I will talk about that right here. So right here, there's the objects and there's people. Yes, this little button right here.
Oh, got it.
This is Dr. Arnold. Now, I can rename him here. So it's not Dr. Arnold Light, just Dr. Arnold by doing this. And he should be facing you a little bit, so kind of offset. I'm gonna go 240. Okay. And I'm quite happy with this position here. Okay. So with that, we've got Dr. Arnold. We've got our assets in here. Got all our flames and everything else. So let's quickly go into a little bit of the basic properties here because there's some things I have to change on these because I don't want them to be visible at the start. So looking at our flames, I'm going to select each of them and make sure that there is visible property is off at the start. I'm just going to quickly go through those and just disable that. All right. Also, and the same token, there is the powder I've put on my spatula. I also don't want that to be visible at the start because I only want that to be visible after we've gathered a sample. And with that, we set up the basics of our environment. Now, this is a kind of pre-populated space as far as assets are concerned. There are also ones that are empty and blank. So if you wanted to add things to it, I'm just going to type, So if you wanted to decorate your space, you can type in poster or anything else and you can click and drag that in, and then using the manipulations. That's right.
So you're always having to use kind of this left spot versus just using the mouse and.
Yeah, it helps. It's your call on what you're more comfortable with, but you're able to do more, I find, with this kind of stuff. But, I'm able to put posters in here if I want to. Whoa. Yep. And okay. So if I want to, I can have these posters in here, or I can leave this wall blank. It's up to me, and I'm able to add things like chairs, tables, and other things to more make it like, a classroom environment. If I want to, I can putting in desks, either computer desks or different ones. I'm able to populate it with anything else I'd like, but that would just clutter my environment in this case, so I'm going to leave it as is. I'm just using this as a quick example to where you're able to populate this space and decorate it as you find appropriate for your needs. So, made things not visible, did this, did all that, great. So, this is our spatial layout. I'm going to click save at this point, in the upper right-hand corner here, and I have the option to either just save it or make it public. Public just means that when I create this, it will generate a web URL so I can share it with anyone, as well as allow me to add it to that playlist. If it's not public, it can't be added to a playlist. Okay. Right, save. You can see here. You're also able to export it from here for either web or VR, as well as other things. Last thing you can do here, if I have saved multiple times over this, I can recover and revert back to a previous save if I made a horrible mistake and saved over it. This is where I would recover that. And I can also see if I have shared this with other different people for editing purposes, who made the last changes within here. So it's all viewable in the system, right? Okay. That is how you lay out assets and go through that process. Next, I'm going to go through the scenario flow, which is where we're going to be creating that flow chart for the experience of defining what the user can and can't do and what happens when they do those actions. Let's move on to that, shall we? So, this is the scenario flow. If you click the state button here, you can click and drag in a state. By default, the first one you bring in is state 0, and you can bring in as many leads as you feel like. Okay, manipulate around this space. You can click with the middle mouse wheel to drag camera around to pan, or switch to the movement tool, which means that if you click on empty space and click and drag with the left mouse button, you're able to also move around. If you have created a state you want to get rid of, switch to the delete key, and these little X buttons will pop up, and you can click those to delete the state. Also, and I'll be covering.
They would renumber?
What?
Would they renumber, resequence?
Yes. So
like if you deleted state 1.
Yeah, so let's delete that and then click state. Yep. There you go. Takes the next blank one in the. Okay, you're also able to make transitions. When you click the transition button, it will switch from transition to select origin. So click on that and then switch to select destination. This will automatically create a connection between different locations. Now, if you have set up something like this and you can either delete the transition itself or delete the end state, which will delete any transitions that are connected to it. Okay. So that's what that works. But
can you do that one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll cover more in detail later. This is so when you've created these transitions, in this kind of state, if I go to the delete option, I can delete just the transition itself. So I don't want to get rid of that state here. And you can see that connection is no longer between them. Or I can delete the end destination, which will delete both the transition connecting to it, as well as the state itself. Okay. But I want that there eventually anyways, so I'm going to bring it back. Now, This is a flowchart. You can do flowchart things with it. We're not limited into the structure. You can have multiple ways to get into a state, either from the same action if you want. You can create loops. You can have different branching points. You can have lots of things that you can do here. You're not really limited on this. It's a flowchart. You're able to create all of these conditions and connections between them if you want. Demonstrating that you actually can do this, but in our case, we're not going to need to be that complicated of a structure. I will be demonstrating some of these principles here, just letting you know you're very free in what it is you can do with this. Now, states themselves. This is state 0. If I'm the only one doing this and I'm never revisiting this, this is probably okay. But I would personally recommend you actually name these. Kind of like commenting your code. No one ever is going to see this, but it sure does help if you've written what the purpose of these are for anyone who comes after you or for yourself when you're working on things. So you can rename these by clicking on the text of the state or by typing it in this box up here if you prefer. So this one, for example, is going to be my introduction. So I'm going to go use gloves first and use classes first, which are then going to collapse to turn on Bunsen burner. This is just for my own purposes of understanding what we're doing. But yeah, now looking at these, you might notice some slight different coloration between these. First, my introduction here is highlighted with this white border in comparison to the gray one. This is because it is where I'm entering the simulation. I can change this by going to the entry state drop down here and clicking this button. It changes what the entry state is. The entry state is just where the user, when they launch the experience, where it is they're being dropped in your flowchart. Introduction is where I will want them to start, but if for whatever reason you wanted to change that, you could. But keep in mind, like a flowchart, if I'm starting here with use glasses first, I will never, in this current structure at least, be able to reach introduction or used gloves first. But I will be able to reach turn on Bunsen burner. That's because the user is going to be starting here in my experience. This is very useful when debugging, or if you want to do other things here where you don't care that they go through everything before this and you're just trying to do anything else, or for other various different reasons. Okay.
So looking at this flow, there's
I've created a branch and they will eventually collapse down here. I'm starting an intro. I'm going to give them directions where they're going to be able to either put on the safety glasses first or put on the gloves first. I don't care which. I'm going to take note of which one they do, just out of for my own personal curiosity. But I'm going to eventually collapse them here where they're then going to be told to turn on the Bunsen burner.
okay, I guess that when I'm so this is the start point.
Yes.
This is the end point.
Currently, yes.
Okay, and are you defining it in the system to which is the start point, which is the end point?
So technically, the start point is the only thing I'm defining. If I wanted to, I could even do this, where I've made it something else entirely different that it goes off to, right? So the end point of my simulation is kind of undefined, but it will know when there are no further connections at a point and will say, ah, this is the end. So right now, either of these could be the end.
I guess what I'm trying to say is you said if you started here,
Ah, yes,
they would never get to here, but
correct, because I don't have a connection. However, I wanted to, I could do this. And now it could. It's just because there was no connection from turn on Bunsen burner back to introduction. There was no way to go back in my flowchart of this. It only goes one way.
oh, I see. So, okay, that answers my question. So this goes from left to right.
Correct.
That's the order.
Yeah, it goes from this connection to this connection.
Or the top connection.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just saying, like, I can have multiple of these.
Uh-huh.
It goes from here to here,
Uh-huh.
and if I go from here to here,
Uh-huh.
right,
Got
it's
it.
going from this point, following this line,
Uh-huh.
to there.
Got it. So, but it's always left to right.
Yes.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, unless you rearrange, I mean, like, this is movable. This looks confusing to me, but I haven't changed my structure at all. If you look on the screen, I've moved this over here.
Mhm.
It's no longer left to right, from the
Mhm.
visual perspective.
Right.
So I hesitate to say it's always left to right because
I
some
understand.
people can arrange it. And
Sure.
I will always arrange it left to right.
Got it.
Your choice, though. Visually, it makes more sense left to right to me.
So for, let's say you end with turn on Bunsen burner, you could loop back to the beginning.
Yes,
But you would have to create that connection.
exactly.
Okay, got it. Okay.
And I'll be using loops in this, just not here. All right. So that's just the basic structure of what you got here. And also you can right click on the empty space to do things. I utilize that rather than using these buttons typically. So I can just add a state by clicking there or add a transition. It's the same thing with the buttons, just slight shortcuts. All right, now on to the properties of a state itself. So right now, all these are empty. If I were to launch this experience right now, it would go, okay, we're in, and we're at turn on Bunsen burner because I have not defined anything that's happening in here or transitions. It's just going to go right on through them because we haven't put any conditions or actions we're looking for. So let's add some of those. So first, in order to adjust a state, what's in here, click on the state here, and in the drop down, you're able to add different functions. These are essentially blocks of code that are going to do what they say on the tin. So first, I'm going to go to this drop down here, and I'm going to actually go for look at as the first thing that we're doing. So look at, we have a virtual person, Dr. Arnold. He is going to stare straight ahead at all times, unless we tell him you're going to look at something. Use the look at function to do so. So he's a virtual person. He is which virtual person it is, in this case, Dr. Arnold, because I could have multiple, and then what he's looking at. You can have a look at the player, another virtual person, or a virtual object in the scene. And we'll transition. And I want to look at the player, and I'm going to turn that on. If I wanted to stop looking at the player, I would set the same thing up and then turn it off. Not going to be relevant in this case. That's how that would function. You can change it to where he's looking at what the user is talking about. So it's like, hey, what is in beaker number 3? He'll look at beaker number 3, go, oh, this is what that is, and then resume looking at the player. You're able to manipulate that with these functions here. All right. Next one, display message. You got something you want to tell the player, such as, welcome to a virtual chemistry lab. We will be exploring and learning about the flames test. Do you spell flames correctly? We do not have word or spell check in our system. Begin, wear gloves and safety glasses. Okay.
I want to like type this somewhere else with a spell check and copy and paste it in.
Entirely possible. I would normally do so. All right. Now, you can put in a header for this if you want. You can change the button on the text to be something other than I think the default is okay, but I can make it I understand or anything else. You would just change that here. Okay. All right. Wait until finish means that the user must acknowledge this message before they can move on. Now, it will move on to the next interaction, whether they've interacted with this display message or not. But it still has a button so that they can dismiss this message if they don't want to see it anymore. Now, it'll move past it without them interacting with it, and it has no button, so it will remain there until I, as the system, or I, as the author, decide to get rid of it. So this will be there forever now. Okay, in our case, I want them to wait until it's finished, and I don't mind having a button. That's what that is. All right, anchored. This is going to have it in desktop, show up on the screen, must be interacted with, no getting around it. For VR or MR, it's going to be attached to your controller or method of interaction with, to where it moves with you as you go about. Anchored, it's anchored to the player's view. In space, you give it coordinates. It's going to show up in those coordinates, at that orientation, at that exact position, and with that exact scale. That's all the difference is. Okay, so if I were to specify, these coordinates, it would show up right on top of the Bunsen burner if I were to type it in there. Anchored is perfectly fine for my purposes here. Just that's how you can manipulate that. 3 different ways the message can be displayed. Displayed only. It's just text. Spoken only. You select this and you select a voice. Or you can upload your own audio and have it play that audio. I recommend that if you're doing this with playing the audio, it is the audio of your display message, but not a requirement. Or you can select one of our voices and it will automatically use that voice. These are based off of Google's speech system, and you can change. By default, that's what's available in the system. So if you have permission, you can switch this to different voice systems. So you're not limited to just Google, but this is what they're based on. Okay, and then it will speak what is said, or you have it both displayed and spoken. They're called. Okay, in this case, I'm going to use display only. And that is that setup there. Next, we're going to go to highlight. All right, here's highlight. Oh, of course, it's alphabetized, and I still can't find things. So, highlight, I'm going to create here, just created this, and I'm going to highlight my safety glasses. And I'm going to highlight my gloves, which are called sterility flat gloves. Okay, and they're going to be highlighted. All right, so now I've got my introduction done. So I have two ways of getting out of here. In order to make it so that what I'm looking for is done here, I'm going to click on that transition. Now, you can either have it be a trigger, which is something of a user action, where we're looking for the user to do any of these behaviors. This is a dropdown of all the ones that are available. The ones I'm primarily going to be using are use and collide for here, but there are others that you can do here. If you're interested, I can go through them or read the documentation and learn more about each of those. But use is the one I'm looking for here. So we're going to use the gloves to put them on. The drop down here, I've created a use action. I'm going to look for my gloves, which is right here. So now when they use the gloves, they'll be going to use gloves first. I'm going to do the same for this one. Rather than using the gloves, we're going to look for them to use the safety glasses. Also, if you have a lot of objects and you don't like searching through here, you type in here and it will limit selection is so you're able to find those faster. Okay. Now, much like commenting on the states, you can also write comments here if you want to. Use gloves. You're able to write whatever you feel like here. Use. So that way I'm able to at a glance see what this is. Again, when I put something here, it automatically populates with the action. So I kind of understand what's happening here. But if you want to add more detail or specificity, you absolutely can. Okay. Yeah. When I enter here, I'm going to do a few things. So first off, you use the gloves. That's absolutely fine with me. I don't need them highlighted anymore. So I'm going to find my gloves using the highlight function, and this will unhighlight that action when I get here. I'm also going to add a feedback log. Okay, and this is just something that is not shown to the user, but something I can use to either give an evaluation or take note of that I'm sharing with them at the end of the experience. So use the gloves first as an example. Okay. If I were to do this here, use glasses first. Okay. Again, this is not shown to the user at the time of it happening, but this is where I can make a differentiation between what it is they performed here and take note of it. Okay. And in this case, I need to go to highlight again. In this case, we're unhighlighting the safety glasses. All right. Now, sometimes, although it's not that relevant in this experience, but if you have multiple ways of getting to locations, you can have things happen when you enter a state or have them happen when they exit a state. So in this case, I'm going to use the exit here to unhighlight the other one that they didn't do here. Safety glasses. Okay. So when something is done in an exit state, you can still see it on the state here, but it has a little red label here on the right side showing what happens when they exit, where it's going to be green when they enter. You can switch which one it is you're looking at here by toggling between these two selections here. Okay. So that they use the gloves, they went here. I want them to get here when they have used the safety glasses. And here when they use the gloves. Okay. That I've got my quick little setup here, checking on what is it they're doing through here. All right. So now we're going to go here and give them the direction to turn on the Bunsen burner. But rather than using display message, I'm going to bring Dr. Arnold into the mix. So I'm going to find my speak action. And this is where I'm able to have Dr. Arnold speak the instruction. So in this case, use the Bunsen burner to light up the burner. And I select Dr. Arnold. Going to use text to speak. Going to give him the voice of Justin. Going to have him not do an animation. I'm going to have the user wait for him to finish speaking. So you have to wait for him to finish talking before you can move forward.
What are the options under animation?
Random or a selected one, of which there are many.
So, like, otherwise he would just stand there and do the talk.
So none is going to have him standing there in place. Random means it's going to do a weighted selection based off of all of the, because he's male in the visitor system, any of the standing male talking ones, of which there are 11. I think some of these are gender not specific, which is why I think that's like that. But it's going to be one of these random ones.
Okay.
Or you can select it if you have a specific one, but it's going to be hand motions of him. I know that one is him going like this as he's talking, the other one is one hand, the other one is him doing this while he's talking. Your call. Okay. And deal with that.
Let's do a random.
All right, fine. So it'll be different every time we go through the experience. That's fine. Well, not necessarily, but you know, it's going to randomize which one he selects.
That's right.
Oh, right. One more thing. We want positive reinforcement. Where's my play audio? The user did a good thing by putting on both the gloves and safety glasses. I'm going to play a bell chime. At a volume of, it's 0 to 1. Think for this percentage. 0 is not no audio. 0.99 is 99% volume. 1 is 100% volume.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And I would prefer that to happen when they enter. This is the wrong order. I could delete this and then make it again, or I could rearrange it 2 ways. One, by clicking here and dragging it up, or by clicking here and dragging it up. And you'll see it's reflected here. So you're able to change the order of things that you've created. Also, if you want it to be global, meaning they'll hear no matter where they're at, choose global. If you want it to be centered around a virtual object, click the virtual object and choose the point of origin that the sound is coming from. And then you need to add spatial audio somewhere. There it is. To turn on the spatial audio of the object. And again, this just is the controls of how far away they need to be, whether it's linear, logarithmic, sound things. Not important here, but this is how you're able to get things like the Doppler effect, or like if you have a car that's moving and you want them to hear it as it approaches and then gets quieter further away, spatial audio. You just have the sound of the engine coming from the car itself. Again, not so relevant to this example, but lots of things you can do. Yeah. So, I'm going to quickly cover this one other thing before I move to my complete example here, because I realize we're running a little bit short on time. Yeah, I started a little bit late on things, so my apologies for that.
No, my fault.
But yeah, I'm going to have you use the Bunsen burner here as an example. And when you do so, we're going to turn the flame on. So we're going to go to Set Attribute. Go to my drop down here. Find my default flame. And going to change its visibility to true. So it was not visible until we did this. Now the flame's going to turn on. If I want to, I can also play a whoosh sound effect of it lighting. Again, a little bit short on time, not going to do that here. So I'm going to save this. I'm going to go to my complete example here, so you can kind of see what we're building toward, the exact same experience that we built before.
How are you moving like the white guy?
Set spawn position
Oh, that's
is
right.
what that is.
Okay.
So here, again, you can see something very similar to the simulation we created. I had added an arrow pointer for indicating things here. But this is the entire experience that I was going to have us create. Again, going through here, giving an introduction, using gloves, highlighting things, making things able to be used. Again, we would grab the spatula, so you can gather samples. Once you've grabbed the spatula, then gives you the next direction to collide the sample. We've got 3 different samples we're gathering and burning. After you've gone through this, you have to clean the spatula when you're done. I'm leveraging conditions, which is checking to make sure that they've gathered all samples at least one time. And afterwards, giving our conclusion and showing the performance of what they did. If I want to add a quiz, I can just go here, go to the drop down, click create a quiz, and you're able to type in what we'd like for the quiz here. Color, flame, would burn if you introduce color, flame. And I can do like red, add another choice, green, which is correct,
So this is to test their learning.
purple, yeah,
Mhm.
no change. Okay, I've said green is correct. And that's there, and it will be logged into my system when they got it correct or not, or if I wanted to, I could create a transition at the end. Whether they got it right or not. Based off of condition of the quiz. So if they got it correct, they're gonna go up, or sorry, down. Or if they got it wrong. They got it incorrect, they go here, so incorrect. Correct.
But say if you had 5 questions, you're doing the test learning of the whole module. You just have like a ton of those.
So depending on how I want to do it. I would likely do it like this. So that would be quiz question 1, here's quiz question 2. And I would continue this structure.
Oh, I see. I got you.
So that way I can check they got it incorrect, they go here, I give them, hey, that's wrong, remember this. Hey, that's great, that's right, move on. And also I can adjust their score if I want that to show up at the end. It's like, you got a +1 here, -1, or +0 if they went here. And I would just I kind of make this structure throughout, kind of showing that. This is what I would do. Yeah. That's all that you can do here. Delete all of these, because I was just as an example, and I don't want to fill that out. But all of this is what we set up.
Can that flow be turned into something that's more, I guess, text-based? I'm just curious only because, right, I can imagine something getting super extensive, like it's just massive. And if you want to audit like kind of the process, it'd be more helpful if it was, like, something like text-based, so you can kind of like read it.
Would it be though? Because the visual would just move.
Yeah.
Right?
I can show you what that looks like in a text-based format. I find it illegible.
Okay, no, so I'm saying like, like, can you have I guess I'm just imagining like in some simulations, these flows could be rather huge. Right, I mean, what you're showing us is a pretty simple one, and I'm already like, oh, wow, it's like this big. Now,
I literally think the text space would be too much. I think
Yeah.
we're gonna have to move left to right and come auditing.
got it.
Okay, another problem with text-based
Yeah.
is it's hard to indicate in text that branching and looping,
Yeah,
what that is.
okay.
Yeah, I need the visual.
Can you give, I'm just curious, I mean, we can do this later too, I know we're running out of time, but I was curious if you could show us a complicated one, what that would look like.
Sure, I mean, so this is my reference
Uh-huh.
that I use to define what I taught here. Okay, and it's like, okay, here's what I need to do just to define the first state
Mm-hmm.
that you went through, which, not too bad, but it's going to two different things.
Mm-hmm.
So these are my individual states. Here are my transitions and what they're connecting to.
Mm.
So I had to separate that out because, and how it is you move through them.
Yeah, okay, so see this,
So it's possible,
yeah.
but this is done by me as a human. What the system does when you do this,
Mm-hmm.
it puts it in a format called JSON, which
Mm.
I can give you access to, or
No,
you
no.
can see, but that is far more legible.
Yes, no, I don't. No, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Would it be possible to see the UCI twin? Because I know that Synthesize has already built a UCI digital twin. Is that something that you're able to see?
I think for the purpose of the demo, because they've already sent me a YouTube
Oh,
like example, and I think we're in the process of scheduling a walkthrough demo.
Yeah.
Let me send it to you.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Yeah.
It's very impressive.
I think I posted that online too, so if you want. Yeah, there it is. So just
okay,
here if you want to see that.
okay.
I don't have the pin code on hand, which is what
That's
I'm
okay.
used to have you experience
No,
it
that's
now.
okay. I didn't know it was online. I will happily go on YouTube and check it out.
HyperSkill UCI digital twin. Okay, I didn't know it was online either. I just have the rejection.
Yeah, you have the YouTube link that I sent you.
Yeah.
But yeah, as well as our content stuff here has, all this and everything that's available on our platform through Skillful. And what I would recommend, anyone that wants to go through this or do additional training, here's my playlist. I cover much of this stuff, although slightly different order, as well as further training beyond this if you're interested. Where I go into the rules, virtual VO groups, spawning objects. Yep, that's not the button I hit. So again, and how to create conversation-based simulations, how to do dialogues, branching, individuals, quiz-based, machine states, lots of other things that you can do with our system here. It's all contained with this playlist, as well as how to upload your own objects, virtual spaces, assets, etc., and have them used within our system. Yeah. All that's available on our YouTube channel. We have to go through this. Again, this is experience I built very similar to what we were doing before. So this is on desktop. Again, got this here. Need to unmute this. Okay. Why does it not like me? Oh, that's why. Wrong. I just distanced the message while it was still talking, and I didn't know if I had the audio muted. Could be why I couldn't click anything, because I had that selected. I'll change that if it causes me problems or grief in the future.
Oh, quick question, Chris. Is the desktop client only available for Windows?
It's also available on Mac. It is currently available through, I forget, Linkshare or something. I don't remember, but the Mac has a multi-month approval process,
Oh, I see. Okay.
which we are still in the middle of getting it approved. And our last feedback was your text is not quite legible enough. And it's like, okay, we've made that change. And now we have to wait another 6 months or something for them to approve that.
Wow.
So it's just been a long, tedious process.
Mm.
I can get it to you very quickly and easily. No problem there.
Mm.
It's just annoying.
Got it.
And there's not a whole lot I can do about it.
Yeah. But in the meantime, there's the web version.
There's the web version. You can do it right now. And I don't need to jump through hoops to get that to you at all. Again, we have a web version. It works. It's fine. I promise. Functions the same as the desktop and web version do, but you got the web version right now. It works.
Yeah.
Again,
Okay.
mild annoyance with functionality. I don't know why this isn't working for some. It's kind of frustrating, actually.
Well, it's hard to train and build at the same time, so.
It is. Oh, I gave this to somebody to mess with, didn't I? Oh, let's move on to turning on the Bunsen burner. See if that fixes things. This is the problem when you walk away from a project and let somebody else make changes. Not willing to spend the time to figure out what it is they did and undo it. All right. Well, let's go with the version that I know is working, shall we?
That works.
Da, 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 da. I think anyone's changed this one, and if they have, they will rue the day. All right, I give up. Might be easier to just go through it in VR. But yeah, so again, that's just how you would launch the experience, go through it, test it, whether online or on the desktop version. I'm just going to relaunch the application to see if that fixes whatever I'm encountering here. If you want to experience it on the Quest, you just go to the App Store. We're there on it for Oculus specifically. Just go to oculus.com and find it. It'll say App Lab.
Oh, okay.
Okay, but you're able to get it for free on your headset. The login credentials are the exact same as what you used in order to get there, to get in here. Cool. I'm in my experience. Okay, and again, if you have a PIN code for people to experience, they're able to go through it. If not, just log in with the credentials you have and you have access to all the same things you do there.
With the headset, if you don't have the desktop app, it'll still, we don't need.
Not a requirement.
Okay.
There we go. Got my spatula.
Now lock the spatula with this desk. Now carefully place your spatula with the sample. Potassium burns with light purple colored flame. Spatula with the sample. By the excitation of electrons in the ground state along with liberation of light. Gathering another sample. Spatula with HCl. So now.
Now you just hid the text, I see.
Yes. Hey, Arnold, I forget if I turned you on. What does HCl stand for?
HCl stands for hydrochloric acid. It's a strong acid often used in labs for various purposes, such as cleaning tools or adjusting.
Okay. So I did turn on the AI here. I didn't type in what is HCl into the list of queries. He knows that because I've completed the simulation and typed that in here. It highlighted, drew an arrow above it to show you where it was. I could ask other things like what's potassium and other things like that, and able to ask questions about him and go through this process and ask him about what I did, because I've enabled all of that. And all of that was done very easily with push of a button in this case. Which one did I go through? I think I went through this one.
So I'm sorry, if you asked it, what is potassium, did you have to preload that?
No.
Okay, so it knew it through AI?
It knew that because I had put potassium into my experience.
Okay,
So when I brought in my samples, I wrote in something potassium to label it, right? So it's technically random white powder of these properties. And in my description, I said, this is potassium.
okay.
So if I look at it here,
Mhm.
strontium, copper, potassium. Okay, so it knows, oh, this is what's the stand-in for potassium. Okay, so it just knows that because I did that, and based off of, it knows everything I've done to this point. But this is all I told it. This is the entire piece of information that it had. You are an expert in science. Students come to you for help sometimes. You're a kind teacher who gives explanations in 1 to 3 sentences about the topic of science. There are various obstacle materials in the space for the student to go through. Current labs have to conduct the tolerance blending test. There's a Bunsen burner and 4 beakers containing these things. Hydrochloric acid, HCl is being used as a cleaning solution, but I didn't define what HCl was. It just knows that. If a small spatula would safely bring the samples into the flame to burn. All the objects are on a table to your left and are in reach. That's everything I told it.
But yet it knows potassium because it's somewhere.
It's somewhere in the space. It
Yeah.
knows that I have a Bunsen burner. Even, did I tell it? Yes, I did tell it. Okay. Frankly, I don't have to tell it that, but I didn't tell it there are safety glasses or safety gloves. It knows. I could ask it, hey, what are the safety procedures you should wear, you should put on while doing so? The guy, you should do this, which you've already put on, is how you respond. If I want to test this agent, I can go to conversations or other things here. I can, start a new one. To go, hi there, how are you today? This is how the agent that I've made will respond. Are you ready for an exciting science experience today? Right? Which is appropriate. Yes, I am. What are we set up to today? These will be the same responses you would get in a simulation, but I'm just able to test here and get much faster responses without needing to load or iterate and things like that. So we go, oh, I actually don't like this response. Let's go change the AI here. I can change this, come back here and make that and see how his responses change. Also, how do I go this? Back to conversations. If I want to see a past experience that somebody did, he did not talk. How dare you? Here. So this is a conversation that some other user had in the past. I can see what they said and I can review what that is. So what's in the second beaker? Strontium. What's in the third sample? What is the third sample? Copper. What is in the fourth beaker? What's in the first beaker? And it's able to respond throughout all of this. And because I like these responses, I'm not going to change the AI, but if I didn't, I could look at this and see what other users went through and make those adjustments.
So Chris, I downloaded HyperSkill.
Excellent.
I logged in
Excellent.
and now I see a screen and it's kind of this the loading circle. I see on the right hand corner skillful, demo simulations, log out the application, and it start going on front. Right now it's just kind of hanging and loading. And before I logged in, I saw an input code. So I almost feel like maybe I should log out.
Can I see the headset for a moment?
Yes. This.
Let's just see if it got it up and see if it resolves or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, I just stick it in there.
Oh, I know what happens. Sorry, it's updating.
Oh, it's still updating. Okay.
And you've launched the application, so let's go here and figure out if we can't get it to finish its force update. That's all it is. Yeah, sorry. It had. Did that funny thing that applications sometimes do where it's like, yeah, you're all good. It's like, no, you're really. Maybe the one you have right now is 25.
Yep.
Okay, I'm gonna check that out to you.
And tell me which one I should give, what number I should give to,
How about for 24? Let's give that to Petra.
what was Lisa? It was
21.
Okay. I think it's 10.
Yeah, it makes it easy to track.
Yeah, inventory and all that.
That's right.
Yeah. These look like inexpensive luggage tags.
Very inexpensive. Just print out. Snip, snip.
I kind of like it.
I'm very excited about the platform, but I'm also a little intimidated. There's a lot of,
There's definitely, it'll take a while to get to the product.
yeah. Yeah, I mean, I'll start playing around with it, but hey, everybody, who's still on Zoom, I see there's, well, Chris occupies 3, so there's 5 of us still left. We're at noon, time's up. If you need to go wherever you need to go, feel free. The session is recorded, so make sure it gets recording to everybody. There is documentation. Sounds like there's also some tutorials online, so we can always touch base on that later on. But thanks everybody for your time. Appreciate it.
Yep, thank you, everyone. Give it the update. What?
Glitch. What questions is this? This is the 3.
Yeah, I thought so. Just have additional quick notes.
It's okay. I'll figure it out. So you're saying it's uploading?
Yeah, it looks like I saw the version number was behind what's publicly available. So you just downloaded like the very first version of HyperSkill. So there's like maybe I think 50 megabytes of data that it's trying to grab.
It's nothing. I mean,
Yeah.
you just downloaded 400 and like,
Again, I'm not, yeah,
yeah.
so.
I have like a very elemental question.
Sure.
How do you actually change the view? Or is it because I'm in the web version? Because I saw when you're demoing, when you click on it, it changed the view of where you land.
Yeah, I saw.
Oh, so you just drag?
Yeah,
Okay,
I'm just doing this to change things and I'm using the mouse controls
okay.
to do this. When you first enter though, any experience is going to put you at 000 position in the environment.
Okay.
And then you just manipulate this with right mouse click or the wheel,
But how do you turn it?
right mouse click.
Oh, right, sorry, I'm just,
No worries.
it didn't even exist to me as a, sorry.
Yeah,
as
no
a
worries.
back person. Okay, so it's right. And then you just change the view. Okay, great.
That's all.
Because I know you can do this, but
Yes,
yeah,
that doesn't quite rotate it.
okay.
I totally get it.
Thank you so
Thank
much for
you.
this question. Appreciate it. And thank you for dropping us too.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Tony.
Welcome. Thanks. You're welcome. Thanks for